Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Nyirenda, the CEO for Growth Development Consultancy. Welcome you to our YouTube channel where we share content to build your capacity in terms of monitoring and evaluation, business development, marketing, branding, but also career development. And today I will be sharing with you the components of a project proposal. In the previous two videos, two or maybe three videos, I've been sharing on the project, what is the difference between a project and a proposal. I've also shared on the project life cycle, understanding the project life cycle, but also how you can develop a project proposal. And today we want to now develop a project proposal document. Without wasting much of the time, let's get into it. Whenever it comes to crafting a project proposal, there are different things that you can include there, and the things that you include in the proposal will depend on so many other factors. One of those factors could be the donor requirements. One of the factors could be what is the template of the organization that is using, or maybe what are the things that you want to put out in, right? So you'll find out that within different documentations, they have a different layout in terms of the composition of a project proposal. I'll just share with you 8 most important components that have to be in every other project proposal. You cannot miss out these ones. It's okay if you include more of them, or maybe to have less, depending on what you want to achieve. So what are these important components of a project proposal? Number 1, project title. So the first thing that you need to consider when writing a project proposal is to come up with the project title. What is going to be the title of the project that you have designed or developed? Whenever you're developing a project title, what are the most important things that you need to consider? You need to make sure that the project title itself, it is short, it is meaningful, but also sometimes you can develop a title that is a reflection of the project outcome. And also remember mostly that whenever somebody is looking at the project document, the first thing that they'll catch will be the project title. So you need to make sure that you spend significant amount of time, good time, when developing the title, so that you can grab the attention of your audience just by the title. Sometimes you find out that project titles can be acronyms. Sometimes you find out that the project title could be in vernacular. Like for example, here in Malawi, you will find out maybe you can find a project called Kulima. What does the word Kulima mean? It means farming. So that project, it tells you that it's about farming, certain issues to do with farming. So that's the first thing, the project title. Continuation now. What is the other important component that you can put in a project title? Number 2, executive summary. So the executive summary needs to be brief, concise, but also it has to be very much interesting, because this is now also your opportunity to tell people more about the project proposal. You see, sometimes you might have a project proposal that is 50 pages, sometimes 90 pages, sometimes 20 pages. Not all your audience will be interested to read that big document. They will just come to the project summary and then look and then try to understand what is it that this person, what is it that this organization is trying to propose. And the important things that you can be in a position to include in the executive summary are, the budget. People are wanting to see what is the budget, how much is the money that is being spent. You can also input in the executive summary the name of the project, the name of the organization implementing, what are some of the activities that you want to implement. You might also want to include in the executive summary the methodology that you're using. But then just make sure that maybe it's maximum over 1 page, right? Half a page much better, because you're summarizing everything. You're giving somebody a heads up in terms of what it is that they should expect in the project proposal document. And so coming to the third component of a project proposal, we have about the organization. Very important. So you need to introduce yourself, who you are, what is the name of the organization, What are the key thematic areas that you focus on? Is it agriculture? Is it livelihoods? Humanitarian? Maybe policy and advocacy? So you see, different organizations, they focus on different things. In the about the organization, you need to highlight what are the things that you do focus on. Another important thing that you need to include whenever you're writing about the organization is your geographical focus areas. Where are the areas that you implement your projects? Right, so you can say an international organization, maybe we're in these continents, or maybe here in Malawi we're in the southern region only, and sometimes maybe you can have projects in the north and central region, like that. And more importantly, whenever you're coming up with about the organization, another important thing that you also need to include is organization strength. What are the strengths of your organization? Who are the staff? Right? What are the qualifications? What is their experience? So you can write about the executive director, his qualifications, and how that he's done different kind of work relating to what you're applying for right now, the competences of the program manager, the M&E officer, the project officer, and stuff like that. Now, coming to the fourth important component of a project proposal, the project rationale, or the project background. This, I would say, is the most important component of a project proposal, and many times is the most difficult to craft. Like for me, whenever I'm writing project proposals, I know this is one of the challenging areas for me, right? The project rationale mostly is about justifying the need, why you need to implement the project. What challenges are there that you're trying to solve? So you have to quantify the challenges, you have to quantify the needs, so that people are convinced that indeed there is a certain problem on the ground which requires intervention, and specifically intervention of the project that you're applying for right now. And within the project rationale, so how do you come up with a project rationale? And what it is an argument in favor of why you are wanting to implement that particular project. So for you to come up with a convincing argument, you need to collect data. You need to collect data. Sometimes you might want to collect primary data, sometimes you might want to collect secondary data. Primary data is when you go into the community and meet the community members and try to dig out the issues. What are the issues that they are facing? What are the problems, and how together with the communities you can be able to solve the challenges. So whenever you go to the community there, you might want to conduct what is called a needs assessment, where you collect and gather data, whether through a household questionnaire. Sometimes you can use focus group discussion, or you can have an entire non-community in one place to ask them and understand what are the things, what are the problems that the community is facing. And the other way you can be able to collect data to craft the project rationale is using secondary data. And what is secondary data? This is data, or maybe this is information that has already been collected by somebody else. So this is data, like for example from the government of Malawi, like different documentation by the government of Malawi, or maybe it could be some project documents, like a project report, or maybe an evaluation report of another project that was implemented in the past. Or sometimes you can collect data, secondary data, from newspapers. Yeah, but like if you consider here in Malawi, one of the most important sources of secondary data are socioeconomic profiles, because each and every other district has what is referred to as a socioeconomic profile, which profiles and details important issues concerning the district. So what are the challenges that the community members are facing? What is the prevalence rate of maybe a certain disease? Data concerning like how many people have access to clean water. So yeah, you can use primary or secondary data for the project rationale. In summary, the project rationale has to provide key statistics. Now, coming to the fifth point, what is another important component of a project proposal? The project description. So in the project description, you explain or you describe in detail what is the project impact, what is the project goal, what are the project outcomes, what are the objectives, what are the indicators but also you need to come up with a paragraph describing the project activities. Yeah, what is it that you're going to do, how you're going to go about it. And another thing to consider when coming up with a project description is an explanation of the methodology to be used in the project. So every other project has a methodology, right? The main approach that the project is going to use to ensure that there's change on the ground, right? So for instance, some organizations, they use what is referred to as the lead farmer approach. Some other projects, like for example projects in WASH, they use what is referred to as community-led total sanitation. And then another important thing that you also need to explain to people is who are the target audience, right? Who are the people that the project is targeting? Is it men and women? Maybe women only, maybe men only, maybe the elderly, maybe children, maybe persons with disability, or maybe persons living with HIV, right? Other projects, they target under 5s. So all of those things you need to explain. And not forgetting the time frame. How long is the project going to take? Is it a 5-year project, 2-year project? So now coming to component number 6, the budget. The budget has to be realistic, and also it has to be reasonable. How are you going to ensure that the budget is realistic but also reasonable? One of the ways you can easily do that is get 3 or more quotations from different service providers, so that you get the most competitive one, the best that you feel like it represents the amount of money that you are going to have. Also, whenever you are creating the budget, make sure that the budget is based on your project activities, right? So you have different activities that you list down that you wanted to implement. The budget has to be based on that, and it also has to be itemized. Like for instance, you have an activity, like for example you want to conduct a certain training, like a lead farmer training. During that training you will need allowances, you will need fuel, you will need transportation, you will need transport refund, you also need the refreshments. So the budget has to include all of those things. And finally, the budget also has to follow donor recommendations. Some donors, they recommend that 60% of the money has to go to project interventions, whereas 40% goes to administration, while as other donors, they recommend 70% to go to interventions and 30% to administration. Now, depending on the donor, you will know what best to do. But also sometimes you can look at the available funding that can tell you how to split the finances. And now coming to the number 7, a component of a project proposal, sustainability. You need to write, or you need to come up with a sustainability strategy. How are you going to ensure continuity of project interventions after the project phases out? So different projects use different methodologies. Like for example, other projects, they use the locally available resources, right? So other donors, they involve local structures, so that whenever the project phases out, the local structures, like for instance the village development committee, the area development committee, or maybe the agriculture village committee, they can ensure continuity of the interventions because you involve them throughout the entire known process. Some projects, again, like in WASH, for instance, after drilling a borehole, the community should have their own revolving fund, so that whenever something malfunctions with the borehole, the community members with the fund, they can be able to fix the borehole, not having to call somebody, or maybe not having to call project officers to do that kind of work. At the same time, projects also ensure capacity building, so that whenever the project phases out, those people, they have the capacity, they have the knowledge and the know-how to continue doing those things after completion. So sustainability mechanism, very important. A project proposal usually does not pass without a sound sustainability strategy. And finally, another important component of a project proposal is monitoring, evaluation, but also reporting. How is the project going to be monitored? How is it going to be evaluated? And how is reporting going to be done? Who is going to be responsible for the reporting? When? Monthly, quarterly. Some donors, they require semi-annual reports or maybe annual reports. You specify that. Who is going to monitor? How are you going to monitor? The data, how is data going to be collected, to be traced from the grassroots? What about the external consultants? Will you need any external consultants in the project? All of those things you need to come out clear here. And also you need to specify when is the evaluation going to be happening. And so guys, those are some of the most important components of a project proposal. I think I've talked about 8 of them, which are the project title, the executive summary, about the organization, the project rationale, the project description, the budget, and then the sustainability, but also monitoring, evaluation, and reporting. You will find out in other documents that they might also include the stakeholder analysis. Others might also include the risk analysis or risk management, how you're going to manage the risk. So like I said earlier, it depends on the donor requirements. So that's about it for today, guys. I hope you have learned a lot. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for this video, leave comments, like. Looking forward to see you on our next video.